From sand to gold, the journey of the Arab oil kingdoms in the rolling sands of the Arabian Peninsula, where life once clung to the rhythm of the desert, a transformation unlike any other, was quietly taking root. This is the story of a people who lived on the edge of survival, whose days were governed by the harshness of the desert sun and the scarcity of water. But through the unlikeliest of fortunes, they would soon become the architects of the world's most breathtaking skylines, the custodians of the most coveted resources, and the masters of an age of wealth that few could ever imagine. This is the story of the rise of the oil-rich Arab nations. The desert life. For centuries, the Arab world was a land of nomads, merchants, and fishermen. Life in the vast desert was a struggle of survival. The Bedouins, famed for their resilience, lived in tents, wandering the empty deserts, trading their goods, and occasionally raiding each other for survival. Water was a treasure, and every morning's journey was a gamble between finding it or watching the sun scorch the earth beneath their feet. Towns like Dubai, Riyadh, and Doha were small, isolated, and had little more than trading routes. The people were resourceful, living off what little the land could provide. The harsh desert life made them tough, adaptable, and self-sufficient. They relied on camels, tents, and their wits to survive. But beneath the arid landscape lay something incredible: oil. The discovery, in the early 20th century, the Arabian Peninsula's greatest treasure was unearthed. In 1938, in the desert kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the first significant oil reserves were discovered. Soon after, the rich oil fields of Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and the UAE would also be found, each a shining promise of an unprecedented future. The discovery of oil was nothing short of a miracle. It came at a time when these lands were struggling with poverty and a lack of infrastructure. The wealth of the desert, buried deep beneath the sands for millennia, was now ready to be tapped. The Western world, particularly the United States and Great Britain, recognized the power of this newfound resource. They rushed in, eager to strike deals with the rulers of the region who until then had known nothing of such opulence. The kings and emirs, many of whom had ruled over small, struggling communities, now found themselves with access to billions of dollars in revenue. The rise to power what followed was a rapid transformation. The kingdoms and emirates that once lived in the shadows of the world now had wealth that could rival any superpower. With oil came power, and with power came change. Cities, like Riyadh, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi, once humble desert towns, began to grow exponentially. Modern infrastructure, roads, schools, hospitals, and eventually skyscrapers, began to appear seemingly overnight. These were no longer just desert kingdoms. They were becoming global players. In the span of just a few decades, the standard of living rose dramatically. The nomads who once lived in tents now had access to the finest education, healthcare, and technology. Entire generations of people who had known only hardship now found themselves in the heart of a burgeoning, cosmopolitan world. But this story isn't just about money. It's about vision. It's about leadership. The kings and emirs of the Arab world, realizing the importance of diversifying their wealth and ensuring a future beyond oil, began to invest heavily in infrastructure, education, and technology. Dubai's transformation in particular became the epitome of this vision. The architects of a new world in Dubai, the cityscape that had once been characterized by modest buildings and dusty streets, began to shift. The first skyscrapers appeared, followed by the world's tallest buildings. The Burj Khalifa, standing at 8.28 meters, became a symbol of the ambition and resilience of a people who had once known nothing but sand. But Dubai wasn't alone. In Doha, Qatar's capital, stunning structures like the Aspire Tower rose. Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, with its sprawling highways and modern malls, became a center for global business. The transformation was breathtaking, but it wasn't just about grand buildings. It was about reinvention. A region that had once been isolated and forgotten was now the center of global finance, technology, and culture. The oil money was no longer just a fleeting luxury. It became the cornerstone of a new world. The world watched as the once poor, desert nations transformed into the world's most dynamic and prosperous economies. The citizens, once living on the edge of poverty, now lived in luxury, with access to world-class amenities, education, the challenges, but no story of transformation is without its challenges. The Arab world, despite its newfound wealth, faced numerous obstacles. There was the looming question of oil dependency. As the global push for sustainability grew, the oil-rich nations knew they had to adapt. They couldn't rely on black gold forever. Thus began the next phase of their evolution. Massive investments in renewable energy, education, and tourism emerged. The UAE's Vision 2021, for instance, aimed to transform the country into a knowledge-based economy, reducing its reliance on oil. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 is an ambitious plan to diversify its economy, focusing on technology, entertainment, and tourism. These nations have started to build not just physical structures, but societies based on innovation, sustainability, and progress. The global impact. The rise of these nations has had a profound impact on the global stage. From hosting global summits like the World Economic Forum in Dubai, to becoming centers of luxury tourism and innovation, these nations have become leaders in shaping the modern world. Their wealth and influence have allowed them to forge strategic partnerships with major powers, from the West to Asia, and to play an increasingly important role in global politics and economics. The Arab world's newfound wealth has also been used to support development projects in Africa, Asia, and beyond. These countries are now pivotal players in the global fight against poverty, war, and climate change. The future. The story of the Arab world's transformation is far from over. As the 21st century unfolds, the desert kingdoms that once lived in obscurity are now shining examples of what vision, perseverance, and innovation can achieve. From the sands of the desert to the shining skyscrapers of the future, they have reinvented themselves. The people who once lived in isolation are now some of the most connected and influential in the world. But the journey from poor to rich wasn't just about oil. It was about dreaming big, daring to change, and investing in the future. It was about seizing opportunities, even when they seemed impossible. The Arab world has proven that with the right combination of resources, leadership, and vision, even the most barren places on earth can flourish, and the story is still being written. Before the discovery of oil, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's economy was deeply intertwined with the sacred pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina. Pilgrims traveling from every corner of the globe brought not only their faith, but their resources, nourishing the land with trade, hospitality, and offerings that sustained the region. Islam arrived in the 7th century, a divine message sent through Prophet Muhammad, which spread like a gentle but undeniable force through the Arabian Peninsula. The people of Arabia, initially fragmented by tribal divisions, found unity in the message of monotheism and equality, bringing them together under one faith. The first revelation, given to Prophet Muhammad in the cave of Hira, was a moment that altered the course of history forever. "Read," Allah commanded, marking the beginning of a message that would touch hearts far beyond the desert sands of Arabia. As Prophet Muhammad began to spread the word of Islam, his words resonated deeply, stirring the hearts of many Arabs who had long searched for purpose beyond the cyclical nature of tribal warfare and idol worship. The people of Arabia, moved by his message, began to embrace Islam with unwavering devotion, witnessing their lives transformed by faith. In 622 CE, the migration of Prophet Muhammad and his followers from Mecca to Medina, known as the Hijra, marked a significant turning point. This migration was not only a physical journey but a spiritual one, establishing Medina as the heart of the growing Muslim community and setting the stage for Islam's rise. When Prophet Muhammad and his followers returned to Mecca in 630 CE, it was not with anger or conquest, but with mercy and forgiveness. The Kaaba, once filled with idols, was purified and rededicated to the worship of Allah, a symbol of the triumph of monotheism over polytheism. The arrival of Islam brought with it a sense of belonging and brotherhood that transcended tribal lines. The newly formed Muslim Ummah, united in faith, thrived on principles of justice, charity, and love for one another. It was a community built not on bloodlines but on devotion to Allah and His Messenger. The message of Islam resonated not only with the Arab tribes but with people from all walks of life. As Prophet Muhammad traveled and spread the word, more hearts were touched, and the faith continued to grow. From a handful of followers, Islam expanded across the Arabian Peninsula, bringing light to all who sought it. In the years that followed, the rise of the Islamic Caliphate spread the faith far beyond the Arabian Peninsula, touching distant lands in Africa, Asia, and Europe. Yet the heart of Islam remained firmly planted in Mecca and Medina, where the sacred pilgrimage drew millions of Muslims each year, returning to the birthplace of their faith. With the discovery of oil in the 1930s, Saudi Arabia's economy underwent a profound transformation. The vast reserves beneath the earth brought unimaginable wealth and resources to the kingdom. Yet despite this newfound wealth, Saudi Arabia remained deeply rooted in its religious and cultural traditions. The Hajj pilgrimage continued to be an essential part of the kingdom's identity, with millions of Muslims journeying to Mecca each year. The kingdom's commitment to facilitating this sacred journey has remained a central priority, ensuring the pilgrimage is accessible and comfortable for all who seek it. Saudi Arabia, once a humble land dependent on trade and pilgrimage, now stands as a global economic powerhouse, thanks to the discovery of oil. However, the kingdom's deep connection to its Islamic heritage remains its strongest foundation, shaping its modern identity. Today, Saudi Arabia seeks to balance its newfound prosperity with its rich cultural and religious traditions. Through initiatives like Vision 2030, the kingdom aims to diversify its economy while continuing to honor its role as the keeper of Islam's holiest sites. Pilgrims from every corner of the world still arrive in Mecca and Medina, united in their devotion to the Creator. Each year, the sacred pilgrimage reminds the world of Islam's enduring legacy, a testament to the faith's power to unite and inspire. Saudi Arabia, with its vast oil wealth and global influence, is also a place where millions gather for the most profound spiritual experience, the pilgrimage to Mecca, the place where the message of Islam began. The people of Saudi Arabia, proud of their heritage, live with a deep sense of responsibility to preserve the sacred lands entrusted to them. Their devotion to Islam, and to the millions who visit annually, is a reflection of their unwavering faith and commitment. The bond between the land of Saudi Arabia and the faith of Islam is unbreakable, a sacred relationship that transcends time and space. It is a land that has seen the birth of a faith that continues to shape the lives of billions around the world. Saudi Arabia has long been defined by oil. For decades, its economy, its growth, and its global influence have been powered by the petroleum beneath its deserts. But in the 21st century, change is no longer optional. Climate change, declining oil demand, and shifting global priorities have all converged to challenge the very foundation of the Saudi economy. To confront this, the kingdom has set its sights on a bold transformation, one that goes beyond oil, beyond tradition, and beyond what many thought possible. At the center of this transformation is Vision 2030, an ambitious national plan introduced by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Its mission is to diversify the economy, invest in future technologies, and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. It envisions a modern, dynamic Saudi Arabia, open to the world and ready to lead in new industries. One of the most striking pieces of this vision is a city unlike any other. It's called the Line. The Line is not just a city, it's a reimagining of what a city can be. A linear metropolis stretching 170 kilometers across the desert. Instead of expanding outward like traditional cities, the line grows upward and forward, in a sleek mirrored structure that will eventually house up to 9 million people. Inside this line, everything will be accessible within 5 minutes. Homes, schools, clinics, offices, and nature, all layered vertically to reduce sprawl. Transportation will be handled by an underground high-speed rail, promising end-to-end travel in just 20 minutes. There will be no cars, no roads, and no carbon emissions. The city will run entirely on renewable energy. Solar, wind, and green hydrogen will power homes, businesses, and infrastructure. Artificial intelligence will manage city functions, everything from waste disposal to traffic flow, energy use to security, allowing the city to operate efficiently, intelligently, and sustainably. Its design is futuristic, yet intentional. The mirrored exterior will blend with the surrounding desert, reflecting the natural beauty rather than consuming it. The interior, meanwhile, will be a living experiment in compact vertical urbanism, human-centered, walkable, and free of pollution. The line is part of a much larger initiative known as NEOM, a sprawling $500 billion mega-project on the Red Sea. NEOM is envisioned as a hub for innovation, tourism, and technology. Alongside the line, it includes Trojena, a high-altitude ski resort that will host the Asian Winter Games in 2029. There's also Oxagon, a futuristic floating industrial port designed to redefine logistics and manufacturing. Together, these projects represent Saudi Arabia's desire to pivot from a resource-based economy to one driven by knowledge, sustainability, and global engagement. But no vision this grand comes without challenges. Building a 170-kilometer city in the desert is a logistical nightmare. Engineers must contend with extreme temperatures, remote terrain, and a tight construction timeline. Moreover, questions of human rights, environmental impact, and labor conditions have raised concerns among critics. Recently, reports revealed that the scale of the line has been scaled back significantly. Originally, the plan was to house 1.5 million people by 2030. That figure has been revised to fewer than 300,000, and instead of building the entire 170 kilometers, current plans suggest that only around 2.4 kilometers will be completed by the end of the decade. Budget constraints, construction delays, and global economic pressures have forced the project to shift its focus. Key sections are now being prioritized, especially those related to upcoming global events like the 2034 FIFA World Cup and the 2029 Winter Games. These events are expected to spotlight the kingdom on the world stage, showcasing its transformation. Despite the setbacks, the ambition remains intact. The line is still seen as a flagship symbol of Saudi Arabia's future, a future that is smarter, greener, and more connected. Whether it succeeds or not, the line challenges our assumptions about what cities can be. In a world where urban sprawl strains infrastructure and contributes to environmental decline, compact high-tech cities like this could offer an alternative. If nothing else, the line serves as a conversation starter, one that dares the world to think differently. It also sends a clear message. Saudi Arabia does not intend to be left behind. It wants to lead the next era of global development, not with oil, but with ideas. The line may be a gamble. It may be the most ambitious urban project in human history. But even if it's only partially realized, its influence will stretch far, beyond the sands of the Arabian Peninsula. It asks a question that more and more of us must face. How should we live in the cities of the future? And in trying to answer that question, the line just might change the world. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Gulf, far from the bustling oil rigs and roaring engines that once defined the region's global identity, a quiet transformation is underway. Two nations, Qatar and Kuwait, are reimagining their futures. For decades, they've been known for their deep wells of petroleum wealth, but now they're beginning to chart a different course, one that leads beyond oil, toward sustainability, innovation, and resilience. The world is in the midst of a profound energy transition. The urgency of climate change, the rise of renewable technologies, and shifting global demand are reshaping the foundation of energy economics. Fossil fuels, once the engine of modern progress, are being reevaluated, not just environmentally, but financially. The volatility of oil prices and the momentum behind green energy have made one thing clear. Dependency on oil is no longer a sustainable path forward. And so, Qatar and Kuwait, two countries deeply rooted in petroleum history, are responding. Let's begin with Qatar. A small nation in size but massive in influence, Qatar holds the third largest reserves of natural gas in the world and is the leading exporter of liquefied natural gas, LNG. For years, this abundant resource has powered its economy, built its skylines, and positioned it as a critical energy supplier. But Qatar sees the writing on the wall. Through Qatar National Vision 2030, the country has laid out a clear framework for economic, human, social, and environmental development. Central to this vision is the ambition to diversify the economy, to move away from a narrow dependence on gas exports and build a robust, knowledge-based society. To do this, Qatar is investing heavily in education. At the heart of this effort is Education City, a sprawling campus in Doha that hosts world-renowned institutions such as Georgetown University, Carnegie Mellon, and Northwestern. These campuses aren't just academic outposts. They are the training grounds for the next generation of Qatari leaders, entrepreneurs, and thinkers. Alongside education is a strong focus on innovation and technology. The Qatar Science and Technology Park provides support for startups and research institutions working on everything from AI to biotechnology. The government offers incentives, funding, and infrastructure to turn ideas into commercial solutions. Qatar is also leaning into soft power. The 2022 FIFA World Cup was a milestone event, not only a sporting triumph but a catalyst for infrastructure, tourism, and global branding. More than $200 billion was invested in stadiums, metros, hotels, and airports. These weren't temporary upgrades. They were long-term assets, part of a broader strategy to turn Qatar into a regional tourism and cultural hub. Additionally, the country is looking inward, at sustainability and environmental responsibility. The government has set targets to increase solar energy capacity, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and adopt more sustainable urban planning. Qatar's commitment to hosting major events in eco-conscious ways is more than symbolism. It's a signal of intent. Now let's turn to Kuwait. Unlike its neighbors, Kuwait has taken a more cautious approach to economic transformation. But that's beginning to change. With over 90% of government revenue still coming from oil, the risks of overdependence are evident. Volatile oil prices in recent years have made clear the need for change. Enter New Kuwait, or Kuwait Vision 2035, an ambitious national blueprint for turning Kuwait into a diversified, prosperous nation. The vision is bold: reduce the public sector's dominance, empower private enterprise, attract foreign investment, and develop critical sectors like infrastructure, finance, healthcare, and tourism. One of the cornerstones of this vision is Silk City, or Madinat al-Harir, a mega-development project aiming to transform the northern coast of Kuwait into a commercial and financial hub connecting east and west. The project includes residential zones, business districts, ecological preserves, and a world-class port. The already completed Sheikh Jaber Causeway, one of the longest sea bridges in the world, symbolizes this connection between present and future. Kuwait is also leveraging its vast financial reserves. The Kuwait Investment Authority, the oldest sovereign wealth fund in the world, is a key asset in this transformation. With hundreds of billions in global investments, it is both a shield and a spear, protecting the economy from shocks and enabling strategic long-term planning. When it comes to renewable energy, Kuwait has set a national target of generating 15% of its electricity from renewable sources by 2030. The Shagaya Renewable Energy Park is a flagship project in this direction, combining solar, wind, and other clean technologies to diversify the energy mix and reduce the domestic consumption of oil. Education reform is also high on the agenda. By modernizing curricula, expanding vocational training, and encouraging digital literacy, Kuwait aims to equip its youth for a future that isn't tied to the oil barrel. Meanwhile, programs supporting small and medium-sized enterprises are slowly growing in influence, fostering a culture of entrepreneurship that was long overshadowed by public sector dominance. Culturally, Kuwait is working to reclaim its rich heritage as a center for art, literature, and free expression. In earlier decades, Kuwait was considered one of the region's cultural capitals, known for its theater, press, and liberal arts. Today, there's a conscious effort to reignite this legacy, with investments in museums, cultural festivals, and the creative economy. Despite these efforts, the road is not without obstacles. In Qatar, there are challenges related to labor reform, demographic imbalances, and ensuring that diversification benefits all sectors of society. In Kuwait, political gridlock and bureaucratic inertia can slow implementation. And in both countries, there's the question of how to balance tradition and modernity, how to build a future that honors cultural values while embracing change. But what's clear is this: the shift is real. Qatar and Kuwait are no longer content to be defined solely by their oil wealth. They are laying the groundwork for a future built on knowledge, sustainability, and global integration. They are investing not just in roads and skyscrapers, but in minds and ideas. They are crafting narratives that look beyond petroleum, toward resilience, creativity, and long-term prosperity. So while oil built the foundation, it will not be the ceiling. Qatar and Kuwait are proving that even in the heart of the world's oil basin, it is possible, and essential, to dream bigger, think longer, and build smarter. The era of transformation is not coming, it is already here. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful or informative, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It really helps support the channel and lets me know what kind of content you'd like to see more of. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. I'm always working on new videos to bring you valuable insights, tips, and updates. If you have any questions, feedback, or just want to join the conversation, feel free to leave a comment below. I read as many as I can and do my best to reply whenever possible. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.